is up? Happy Monday. We are here with OddsChecker for another college football episode. We got our sharps on deck, Alex and Joe. Guys, happy Monday. How was the weekend?
Weekend was great for me. 4-1. Got back on the horse with a pick of the week that actually panned out this week. That's kind of been the story of my season all year, is that I've been really strong overall, but really bad on my picks of the week, the ones I feel best about. Fortunately, the under in UAB LSU survived narrowly in the fourth quarter of that game. So felt good, up to 29-16 overall.
All right, let's keep it moving this week. Joe, how are your picks doing? You're still giving out picks on the site. We got some premium picks from you. What do you got for us?
Yeah, so this week I'm going to the Iron Bowl, and I am rolling with Auburn at plus 22.5 against Alabama. I think this line may even balloon to like 23 or 24, which may be better to get to like a key number in case it gets to that point. Alabama is just not having their typical dominant season. They haven't really looked that great. I even faded them this week against Austin Peay, and it plus 46 on Austin Peay came in relatively easily. Alabama just has not really looked as crisp on either sides of the ball. Auburn, surprisingly, has been playing much, much better over their last 2 to 3 weeks. They're coming in after a blowout win over Western Kentucky, where they really weren't getting a lot of respect on like a -5, -5.5 line. Auburn has just been playing a lot better and been way more consistent. I think Alabama's defense is a little suspect and has not been up to the level that it has been over the last few seasons. I simply think plus 22.5 points is too many for a rivalry game like this. So I am rolling with Auburn. I think they cover. I think it's going to be like a 14 to 17 point game. Next, I'm going to Oregon State. I am fading Oregon. I'm going with the Beavers plus 3.5. Big time rivalry game. Corvallis is a very tough place to play. We saw USC go into Oregon State and almost lose outright. They probably should have lost outright. It took a last-second drive touchdown, low-scoring game. Oregon this past week, it was weird. Bo Nix had a lot of injury concerns. They didn't know if he was going to play until kind of late. The line was getting steamed towards Utah, pretty much all up and towards game time. Oregon snuck out a win. I don't really think Oregon won that game, though. It was more Utah lost it. Utah had so many opportunities. They got to the 50 and the 40 so many times and just could not convert. Their offense just was so anemic. They couldn't get anything going. I don't think Oregon is going to have the same type of luck in a tougher environment in a rivalry game. So give me the Beavers plus 3.5 at home. I think they get it done. But even if they don't win outright, getting the field goal is big. Then my last one, I'm going with Louisiana Tech at plus 17.5. UAB has simply not been the same team on the road this season as they have been at home. Their defense has been really bad over the last few weeks. They gave up 50-plus points to UTSA. They just gave up 40-plus to LSU. They need this game to get bowl eligible because they actually only have 5 wins. But this is just too many points for a Louisiana Tech team who has played really well at home. And it's just too many points. I had the spread at around 9.5, 10. So to get it at 17.5 and over 3 possessions, I think is huge. I think Louisiana Tech keeps this game within 7 to 10 points.
All right, Joe. We got 3 picks from you, and now we're going to go to Alex, who also has another 3 picks. And then we'll get into pick up.
Yeah, before we get to a pick, absolutely sure. So I will start with some action this week. Weeknight game, Toledo at Western Michigan. I want to take you to the under on this game at 53.5, or really anything within a point or two either direction of this. Even if the number went down a smidge, I think I'd feel pretty good about the under. I think I see this one as kind of a high 40s game anyway. There isn't a ton of tempo between these two offenses. Western Michigan in general has a really crummy offense all around. I think it's the worst unit on either team in this game by a comfortable margin. It's going to be frigid, as it tends to be in a weeknight MAC game in the middle of November, even trending into late November at this point. Add on to that we don't know the medical status of DeQuan Finn, the very solid quarterback for Toledo, who got hurt in their last game against Bowling Green. Add on to that even further that while Toledo has had a pretty nice season overall, they have every incentive not to play DeQuan Finn, or at least not to do so for the whole game, because they're already in the MAC championship to be played the following week in Detroit. I just think fundamentals and circumstance both point me towards kind of a sluggish defensive-minded game here. So I am just doing as commanded and picking the under for Toledo and Western Michigan. I would change climates here significantly, go to a much warmer place for Arizona State and Arizona playing in the Territorial Cup. I'm going to go over in this game, 62.5 being that number. Arizona is an all offense, no defense operation, sort of the reverse of Iowa. If you've watched much of the Hawkeyes this year, I love this Arizona offense. Jaden Delora throwing the ball, Jacob Cowan catching it, Michael Wiley running it. There are some concerns here on the offensive side of the ball, the main one being that their left tackle, Jordan Morgan, got hurt the other week and is out for the year. But even without him, they found 20 points last week against a pretty good Washington State defense. I think they can do much, much better than that against Arizona State and should be somewhere in the 30s with a possibility of even upper 30s or low 40s. Arizona State does not have a good defense. I expect a lot of Arizona points. On the other side, though, same deal. Arizona cannot defend at all. I expect both of these teams, not just the Wildcats, to score plenty of points. Either of these offenses could have, the kind of game where they get fairly close to this number. Probably wouldn't be able to cover it, of course, but get fairly close to this number on their own, just because of how bad these defenses are. I think it's the value play over 62.5. And one more, Melissa and Joe, before picks of the week. I'm going to go Coastal Carolina plus 14 at James Madison this weekend. This is a weird one, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. Coastal, in a way, has nothing to play for. They have already clinched their division in the Sun Belt and might take things kind of easy. Probably more important to this line is that Grayson McCall, their quarterback, their most important player, is out. He's been injured. He's not playing in this game. Those are fair reasons for JMU to be favored against the best team in the Sun Belt, the team that has been the best team in this conference all year. I understand that. But 14 is just a lot of points for me to be getting when we're talking about the best team in the conference and a team that's known for being pretty well coached, that has a really smart offensive-minded head coach in Jamie Chadwell and a good offensive coordinator in Willie Korn. You would think that they can string together some offense even without Grayson McCall. It's not that he's not a pivotal player for them. Of course he is. He's the most important player on the team. But 14 is just a lot of points to be getting with the best team in the conference, even if it's on the road, even if JMU is a solid program, and even without Grayson McCall. So I like getting 14 points for the Chanticleers in this game.
All right, the Chanticleers, last picks before we get into picks of the week. Guys, you gave us some totals and you gave us some spreads, and we're going to do the same thing for pick of the week. Alex, I'm going to start with you. You have another total to give out. We're looking at Ohio State as they host Michigan this Saturday. It's the first time these two teams have met since 2006 and it's the first time they enter the final week of the season undefeated. So since 2006, they meet all the time. But both Ohio State and Michigan improved to 11-0 on Saturday with wins over Maryland and Illinois. Alex, you have a total for us. What do you got for us?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, Melissa. It's the biggest one of these games between these two teams. It's the biggest version of the game, as they call it, since 2006. That was a game of the century type game. I think this one is similar. I don't have a spread pick for you. I don't have a perfect read that I feel comfortable with on who's going to win this game or by how much. But what I do have is an under pick at 57.5. So I just look at both of these teams, and obviously I see great teams. I think anyone would look at these teams and think right now that they're probably both going to be in the college football playoff. They both are extremely well-rounded and extremely well-coached. But to the extent that there are concerns with either of these teams, I think they both right now have to be focused on the offenses. For Ohio State's part, their top two running backs, Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson, have not been healthy. They did not run the ball. Henderson did not run the ball when he played particularly well last week against Maryland. Things got a little bit better when Dallin Hayden, the true freshman, four-star running back, came in and carried the rock for them. I don't know what their medical situation is going to be, who's going to run the ball for Ohio State against Michigan. Michigan has a really tough defensive front, a lot tougher than the Maryland front that Ohio State seemed to struggle with for a lot of that game. And if I look at the other side of this game, I wonder a little bit about Michigan throwing the ball against Ohio State's defense. Michigan has had and just had against Illinois some real struggles moving the ball against the defense with defensive backs who can run with Michigan's receivers. and with a tough front that can body up against a really beefy and tough Michigan offensive line. Add to that that Blake Corum, the Heisman candidate running back for Michigan, got hurt in that Illinois game. He did come back, but we don't know the entirety of his health status for this game, as far as whether he's 100% or not. So I think both of these teams have some running questions. I have some J.J. McCarthy questions throwing the ball. No offense, Joe. I love the kid. I think he's a great young quarterback, but some questions about how Michigan's going to do through the air in this game. And it all just kind of adds up to me, in addition to the predictably very cold conditions that we're going to have in Columbus this weekend, that there shouldn't be that much offense in this game. So I feel most comfortable going under when Michigan visits the Horseshoe this weekend for one of the games of the century.
All right. Well, let's hope that under sticks. We also got a pick from Joe. He's picking from the Virginia Tech game where they are hosting Virginia. Now, last week, Virginia didn't play, and they canceled their game when they were supposed to play Coastal Carolina. They might not even play this week, and Virginia Tech just beat Liberty by 1 point. Joe, what is your pick for this game?
Yeah, what happened at Virginia last week was a tragedy, and my thoughts and prayers go out to all the families and players involved. But I don't know if they even will play this game, but I do have a fairly good read on this game if they do play. Virginia Tech just got a huge win against Liberty in a game that they really weren't expected to win. Liberty even got a kick return touchdown, and Virginia Tech still figured out a way to win. This Virginia Tech team has been extremely inconsistent all season. The Grant Wells transition from Marshall just has not gone the way that everyone expected it to be. I really like Virginia here. I am rolling with Virginia plus 2.5. Brennan Armstrong is a very solid quarterback, very experienced. He has the talent to take over games by himself. I do think Virginia will be playing inspired football if they do get to play this game. But this is more about a Virginia Tech fade for me after a huge win against Liberty. They were like 10, 11-point underdogs, and they won straight up against a pretty good Liberty team. And I just don't think Virginia Tech will be able to recreate that same success against this Virginia team in a rivalry game. So I'm rolling with UVA, Virginia Cavaliers plus 2.5 for my play of the week.
Okay, so we got one spread pick. We've got one under pick. As for me, I'm going to ask you guys what you think about this one in a second, but I'm looking at the UCLA Bruins game. They are facing off the California Golden Bears. Now, the Bruins just lost to the USC Trojans. I'm sure we were all watching that game, which went on for a very long time. I was very tired, but they did lose 48-45. The Bears had a great comeback win over Stanford in their last outing. Now, UCLA is no longer in contention to play in the Pac-12 championship game, so they have to get a good bowl spot here, and so I think this is a great comeback position for UCLA. I'm taking them at the spread minus 9.5. Some books still have it at 10. Some have it 9.5, so it just depends on where you're looking. It's a good matchup for UCLA. Last week, they lost in a shootout because USC had the firepower to keep up. They had Caleb Williams with them offensively. This week, I don't know if the Bears have that same firepower, especially with Dorian Thompson-Robinson in the lineup. Comeback spot, it's a division rivalry game. I don't see a better way where UCLA doesn't get the win from this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think this game could go one of two ways. I think UCLA could bounce back from this loss and just take out a lot of frustration and a lot of hurt on a bad California team and win by 23, 24 points. I kind of lean that way, so I do lean UCLA minus 9, but in 9.5. But I also could see the last week as a deflating loss to where UCLA just doesn't care that much anymore and they come out a little flat. But I do lean towards the latter of what I said, and I do think UCLA will come out strong. So I would lean towards a UCLA spread in this game.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I think if I were playing this, I would be on your side of this as well. It didn't jump to me as one that I had to have, but I think that just the caliber difference between these two teams, and particularly the fact that Cal's offense is what it is, which is really not great, would send me in the UCLA direction. So pulling for you, Melissa. Absolutely.
Okay, well, also, fun fact, the Golden Bears have been underdogs in 6 games this season, and they filmed to win all of those games. So, the odds are on our side. The trends, rather. Well, guys, with that being said, we are going to see you guys here next week, Monday, for another episode of college football here at OddsChecker. And until then, happy betting.